Hello, hello, hello. How are you all? Hope you're having a great day. There's some amazing stuff going on, isn't there? Loving it. So I'm back to host another session for you, which I'm very chuffed about. So if you didn't see the one before, I'm Karen Campbell, and I'm part of the team that looks after the Small Awards. And the Small Awards are these wonderful awards that honour and champion small business owners all across the UK. And at the moment, my gosh, small business owners are legends. Look at what they're doing. We're hearing so many phenomenal stories about small businesses adapting their businesses, opening new avenues, attracting global audiences and doing brilliantly in these really, really challenging times. So, hats off. We always say that small business owners are a very, very unique bunch and a special kind of people to even do it in the first place, definitely. So for this second session, I'm going to be talking to the wonderful Fran in a moment from Stamptastic, where we're going to be talking all about how to get new customers. So, we've all seen them, haven't we? There's so many businesses out there that have amazing products, amazing services, but then if nobody knows about them, there's almost like, what's the point? It's you have to be seen and you have to get out there and you have to, get yourself noticed by the right people, which is huge, And as we discussed in our previous session with Emma and Andrew from Modo, there's so many digital marketing channels at the moment that you can take advantage of for free to showcase your business. We sort of at the moment, because obviously we're in lockdown, have a captive audience digitally, and your shop window, your social media is your window to your customers, so that it needs to be used, updated and on point, as it were. The free stuff that's out there, the social media, the newsletters, the video, the podcasts, the competitions, there's loads you can be doing for your businesses. And as we heard from Modo, their plan wasn't set in stone at all. They just followed their dream and something that they loved, and they just hit a nerve and got it right with their right audience, and are now enjoying phenomenal success both in a physical and a digital landscape. And as we'll speak to Fran about it in a bit, luck and being in the right place at the right time can also be a factor, but it's very much not the only factor. There's a lot of hard work going on behind the scenes to make that luck happen. But we'll chat to Fran about the instances they've had as a business and little things that have happened that have brought them success. We will be looking at how Fran has evolved new products, is also always looking at seasonal marketing and seasonality in their business. And if you have a look at Stamptastic social, which I really urge you to do, they've got nearly 30,000 followers at the moment on Instagram. There's Santa littered all over it because, he is coming, whether it's a lockdown or not, whether he has to come through the screen or not, he will be visiting, I'm sure. And it's looking at how you can really, really use what's going on seasonally in your marketing. So it's a really good tip that at the moment, I challenge anybody to be able to use what's going on and transfer it in relation to your business. A good example is a speech therapist that we know who works a lot with children. Now, she has been posting a lot about I'm a Celebrity, which is obviously kicking off at the moment because Giovanna Fletcher is in there. Now, for those parents out there and carers, Giovanna is the host of the Baby Club on CBeebies, which is this wonderful little program which has parents, carers and babies, and they sort of explore objects and see their development and everything. So from her perspective as a speech therapist, this is a big thing she can talk about. This person who is championing children's development, children's language and speech and communication is in this huge show, probably the biggest show at the moment, which is capturing news headlines all over the shop, but link it back to her business. So, there's always something that you can do, no matter how tenuous it may seem. So, as Stamptastic, show time and time again, they have a full understanding of their audience. They know what makes their audience tick and adapt their content accordingly. When you have a look at Stamptastic social, humour plays a big part in it because the audience is the parents, and my gosh, we need some humour sometimes, don't we? So, it is a big thing there to make you laugh, and evoking that emotion and living your values in that way is huge. And, even if it seems not connected to the product, it's still selling, it's still marketing, and it's because it's showcasing people, your brand. So without further ado, I'll stop chatting along. I'm going to introduce Fran, who is our Digital Star winner from 2018, whoop, whoop, which was very exciting. Hello. Hello, and keep commenting on social, please. Let us know any questions, any comments. There's also free photo edits and an online swap shop all on the site for today, so there's absolutely loads going on, so very exciting. So Fran, hi. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good, thank you. It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me. Emma and I actually attended the Innovating for Growth programme at the British Library this time last year, and it was probably one of the best things we've done for our business by far. I'm so grateful for them for accepting us onto the programme. Our business has grown this year a lot as a result of attending the programme, because of the work that we put in from attending the programme. I'm so glad that we got to do it before the lockdown, but I believe they're still running them virtually. So I'm really glad to be able to sort of come back and offer my time to say thank you to the British Library.
Yeah, it's a wonderful initiative, isn't it? And thank you for being here. So for people who haven't heard about lovely Stamptastic, can you tell us what it is to start with?
So Stamptastic is the ultimate parent hack. Instead of sewing and ironing on labels into your kids' school uniform, you just customize a stamp and stamp instead. You customize the stamp online, and the ink withholds 50 washes on care labels. So basically it's a functional product, but it provides so much more than that. And this is one of the things we realized when we did the branding workshop at the British Library, is although it's functional, it provides parents, when you have this parental guilt, some people have parental guilt when they send their kids to school. You haven't labeled all their stuff. Am I a good parent? Very few people have the time or the inclination to sit and sew labels, but it's really desperately what you want to do because you want to be the best parent ever. But life's just not like that. So our product kind of helps parents feel like they are smashing parenthood. And it means if your kid's going out the door on a random nocturnal animals day, which our school did, I mean, who would even do that? You send them to school as a nocturnal animal, but their stuff's not labeled. So you can't sit there and, sew their name in or anything. So you just keep this by the door and stamp their stuff as they go out the door.
Amazing.
So that's what you do, yeah.
And were you that parent then that you were sort of thinking, oh, I'm a bad mum here because I haven't got the inclination to sit and sew labels? Was that the inspiration behind the business?
It was just there's better things to do with your time, and I felt like I ought to be doing it, and I knew that the kids' uniform should be labelled. And I remember sewing on the stuff, and it was terrible, and they always came off. And then I thought, why am I even ironing? I don't iron anything anyway. No. So my husband, he ironed his own shirts, and I just said, look, you iron on these labels. I'm not doing it. But the thing is, they just fell off. They just fall off in the tumble dryer. Your little one's a bit small, but you'll know when they're sent to school that they just fall off in the tumble dryer, and then you don't actually know what labels have been itemed or not. But for me, it wasn't even just a practical thing. It was a much more of a, I'm nurturing and I'm caring for my child. And it feels like kind of a club on our social media, like a community, because you feel a bit smug when you've done it and you go up to the school gates and then all the parents, and mostly mums, but lots of dads too, are telling their friends about us. And we've got so many tags and shares and comments on Facebook and thousands of reviews. So it just feels like one kind of really special club.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm a bit smug mum at the gates at nursery because I was the one to introduce Stamptastic. So I felt a little bit, I've got the ticket to the illegal rave,
Oh, how times have changed, Karen.
How times have changed. I think I have a little sleep at the rave these days. But
one day we'll go to an illegal rave together.
in the day, so we can get our 8 hours. Anyway, we digress. So, your marketing is phenomenal. And, what you touched on there is you've really understood the emotion behind the brand, haven't you? You've understood what it can give these people and how it can make them feel. So it's not actually just the product, is it? It's that sense of feeling better about themselves, which, let's be honest, who doesn't want that? So when you started Stamptastic, obviously it's you and your business partner. How did you plan the marketing? Did you see how it went? Did you sort of listen to the audience and did they guide you?
God, no. I mean, I'm a lawyer, so I had no idea about marketing. And in fact, Emma was in marketing, but it was a different kind of marketing. It was business to business, and social media didn't even exist then. So I kind of got in. I was on Facebook, and I just said maybe we ought to. In fact, how it happened, Karen, was I said to I had two business partners at the time. One left because she felt she didn't have the time to commit to the business. And very early on, I said, I think we ought to have a Facebook page. This was probably in 2010. And they were like, what, why? And I said, I don't know why, but I think we probably ought to have a Facebook page. And they were like, well, no. And I said, well, there's this course at Richmond College, maybe I could go and do that. It's £79 and it's 2 Saturdays in a row. And they were like, And I said, all right, I think we need to do it. How about I pay to do the course. And then if one day you think it's been worthwhile, then you can give me the money back. And I did the course. We set up the Facebook page. We've now got 84,000 followers on Facebook, and Facebook's a big, huge revenue driver for us. But even before we were doing adverts with Facebook, it just snowballed and snowballed and snowballed. And I think about a year after I'd done the course, one of them said, Facebook, it's probably quite a good idea you did that course. It's quite good. I was like, right, because I have back. And it was just the principle of the thing. Mm-hmm. But I never really knew that Facebook and social media wasn't really a thing back then, Karen, in the olden days. So I didn't really know. It's all been off the hoof. I've never had any training. It's just really being brave and just having a go, really.
Yeah. And learning as you go a bit.
Definitely.
So you mentioned Facebook, because obviously your audience are parents, carers. Is Facebook still your biggest channel, would you say?
Yeah, but in advertising terms, it's absolutely huge. I think something like, I want to say 80% of our revenue probably comes through Facebook. Although I am concentrating a bit more on Instagram, mainly because I like it. I prefer it personally. And also I think Facebook's a bit of an aging population. Quite a few of my friends have come off it, and I know that younger parents aren't necessarily on it. They're on Instagram or TikTok. So I concentrate more on Instagram. We do post a lot. We probably post about 10 times a day on Facebook. But I feel with Instagram, it works better for us, which is funny because in the beginning, I couldn't understand with the images. I thought, what am I going to do? Share images of a stamp every day? I mean, I didn't really understand how Instagram would work for us. And over the past 2 years, I finally have. And it's like you said about the funny memes. When we did the British Library course this time last year, we weren't sharing a similar content on Instagram as on Facebook. And we were sharing loads of funny parenting memes on Facebook. And I wasn't sharing anything like that on Instagram. And I thought, why am I not? We did the branding workshop at the British Library, and it was like, our business is based on fun, being relatable parents who drink, like to eat cake, like coffee. So why am I not sharing fun stuff on Instagram? So I started sharing, if you scroll back, if you can be bothered to scroll back through our feed, I started doing it probably around this time last year, into doing the memes. And when I looked at our Instagram insights, by the way, if you're a small business, make sure you have a professional Instagram account, and you can go into insights and you can see your most popular content, the best time of day to post. Anyway, I went into the insights, and all of the most popular ones were these parenting memes. And like you say, I thought, oh, it's not a product, that's a bit crap, isn't it? But actually it's not, because it's all part of your branding and it's all part of connecting with your community. And I think the most popular memes that I have shared in the last 12 months, the top 3 were all related to COVID and parenting, about homeschooling. Yeah.
Into that. Yeah.
And if you look in the week just gone, talk about Giovanna Fletcher. So I signed up, I think it was on Saturday. What day was today? On Saturday, I was supposed to be doing the Copperfield trek, Sahara, with Giovanna Fletcher.
No way.
So 700 people applied, and They chose 100 people, and I've been training for it and fundraising all through lockdown, and it was postponed until March, and now it's been postponed until May, and it's now not the Sahara, it's Cornwall, which is fine. I'm really happy with that. But that's why Giovanna Fletcher is in the in the castle.
Oh, she can.
She can't do this trek. So like the lady before, or you were talking about in your example, Giovanna Fletcher, I did a reel on Instagram, and I've only just started doing reels recently, and that's been our most popular reel because I shared a thing about Giovanna Fletcher in her outfit in the jungle, a picture of a cream tea, and just saying, you know, I'm a celebrity, have had to adapt their plans and go to Wales. The Treks had to adapt their plan and go to Cornwall. So it's trying to think of other things that
interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if she wins it though, if she'll come on the trek.
Well, she will definitely be on the trek. She always goes on the treks. But what will be interesting is they always take some celebrities with them. So I'm hoping that maybe Mo Farah might persuade Mo Farah to go, because I'm a huge athletics fan. So I mean, some people sign up to the trek because they want to meet the celebrities and they want to meet Giovanna Fletcher. I'm just mental and thought I needed a challenge, and it's good for well, as you know from the Stall Awards, it's something to show that your business is doing for charity. It's all for charity, mate. So
but it talks about you though, and you know what we see all the time is people love to know about the people behind the brand, don't they? That those behind the scenes posts or shots are always so popular. So knowing that you're doing that, and almost what has been so brilliant, Fran, is that it's a bit warts and all, isn't it? You know, when you've had a really rubbish day, and like this is, I'm not.
Yeah, especially recently. I mean, it was really funny because I did some stories and tagged the British Library last night, and then I went on to see their stories. I maybe should have gone on to see their stories before I did mine. And I think the lady that you interviewed previously they'd shared a beautifully shot video of her and her products, and then there was me in my gym kit with my hair up, talking about preparing for this interview today. And there's no right or wrong way.
You're being you.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong way to do it, but I do think that you just have to be bold.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to always talk to the camera, although I think people do prefer talking to camera, and have your subtitles. And I just and I have people regularly message me like they might not even have bought from me. I don't even care really if they bought from me, but I have people that regularly message me. And it is really nice, and it does feel like, I know it sounds a bit naff, but it does feel like they're your tribe. Like they will support you, and they will share. If you ask them to share something or like something, and I'd say only about 25%, if that, is business.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And so for, you know, this is a startup day today, so we've got a lot of people watching that are at the very beginning, just like, oh, I've got to do everything. Oh my gosh, I've got to do my product, do my service, be the marketer, be the accountant. It can be hugely overwhelming. And trying to sort of do your marketing, as it were, and what can go wrong sometimes is that people try and be something that they're not, and it can come unstuck, can't it? So like you were saying, the authenticity and the realness, that's what people want and buy into, isn't it, at the moment? Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I would say as well that probably so we've been going about 10 years, I'd say probably like year 6 to 8, we probably lost our mojo a bit maybe, and fell out of love a bit with our business, and so maybe didn't feature ourselves so much in the business. So I think 2 years ago I decided, right, you know, we need to put ourselves in the business, because we'd created this brand, and I think people thought that we were this huge company, because everything seemed to be, I mean, it probably wasn't, but I think it felt like it was so slick. And I don't think people, and you could tell by the way that people sent messages to us on Facebook that they didn't realize we were just two mums. I was in bed replying to messages on my phone.
Yeah.
And so I decided about 2 years ago that I was going to just try and put myself, Emma's not bothered about it, and it's more of a strategic thing really, because I do our marketing, so it makes sense for me to apply for all these awards and stuff. But I really decided I'm going to apply for awards, I'm going to say yes to seminars and do presentations and interviews, because it's really important to get yourself into your business. And by doing that, it just makes your, like you say, it just makes your business so much more authentic. And you don't have to, you can talk about yourself. Don't always talk about your business as we. Say I. In our newsletters now, I say I don't say we. So just get yourself into your business as much as possible. Don't try and pretend you're something that you're not, because people do like to buy from people, and people love a good story. So definitely put yourself in your business, and apply for awards, and just be bold, really.
And just do it. And your output is huge in terms of your social at the moment. How long do you spend on it? What's the process?
Well, I think it can be overwhelming, social media. So first of all, what I'd say is find the right platform for you and spend time on that, rather than thinking I've got to do TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. If you're a B2B, if you sell insurance, then your best place is probably LinkedIn. So don't be trying to do do photos on Instagram. It might work for you, but it might not. So don't try and do all platforms all at once. We focused on Facebook and Twitter really in the beginning, but we don't really sell anything on Twitter. Twitter's a good way for us to find bloggers and people to send samples to. So find your platform, and then really get to grips with learning how to use that platform. I think that scheduling is so important. Because what it does is, if you can schedule a week in advance or even a month in advance, it allows you to be spontaneous when you need to be, rather than being reactive the whole time. When you're being reactive the whole time, you wake up in the middle and like, oh, I haven't posted on Facebook today, I haven't posted on Instagram, and it's just overwhelming and it's horrible. So if you can schedule your stuff, I've written a list of some of the things that I use. So I use Later for Instagram. I've used lots of different scheduling tools for Instagram, and Later is by far the best. You can also schedule directly in Facebook, and they have a thing called Creator Studio. You can schedule stuff in there on Instagram. I use apps called Splice to create videos, which then you can put into your scheduling tools. But the other thing is actually creating the content can take quite a long time. So I'd really spend some time getting used to a piece of software called Canva, which you'll be really familiar with. It's absolutely brilliant. It's really user friendly. You can go on it and you can choose the post you want to do, the size you want. So it could be an Instagram story size, or it could be Instagram grid post, and actually I would always choose the Instagram grid size, because actually Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same people, and Facebook really want you to have a square or a 4:5 image. So I'd always pick an Instagram shape, and then you can use the same image on Facebook as well. Then you're not doubling up. So I would set aside 3 or 4 hours a week to create the content, and then maybe 3 or 4 hours to schedule the content, and then you can breathe, and then you can relax, and you've done it for a week. For the last 2 years, my kids are 15 and 18, and they help a bit, but not really very much, very 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 reluctantly. So my friends' kids who are 16 and 18, they've been helping me. One of them's been helping me for 2 to 3 years, and the other one's just helped this summer, and they create a lot of content for me on Canva. So I have a Zoom call with them, I tell them what I need them to create. We've got a Google Drive where we store all the images, and then I say, please go and create this, and please schedule it, and then we go through and we check all the annotations and the comments and everything like that. So I've trained them up to do that. So a top tip is, if you have a teenager, or not your own, because they probably won't do what you ask them to do, somebody else's teenager, teenagers are desperate for work,
and they're so savvy, they can't put in their sleep.
They can't babysit at the moment. They can't earn any money, but they are brilliant. They pick up this stuff so quickly. It's unbelievable. So if you're not confident with creating the content, get some teenagers, Get to grips with Canva. It's brilliant. Download Splice on your phone. That's like Slice with a P. And don't get the paid version. I just have the free version. And all of these things you can use for free as well. You don't have to do advertising.
So it's just, I mean, scheduling is key, isn't it? Like you say. And I think, you know, there's so many business owners, don't they, sit down every day and go, oh, they've done a full day's work and they're like, oh gosh, what am I going to say on social? I'm so uninspired. I don't know. Then it's a bit half, you know, cut. It's not really the message. So and they don't bother at all. And
they're probably posting at the wrong time as well. Like I said, you can go into your insights. Actually, 6 o'clock is, I've been doing these, I can't remember if I told you, but I've been doing these Instagram one-to-ones with small businesses to raise money for Copperfield. I've been doing these Instagram one-to-ones. So they donate £20 to my Copperfield fundraising, and I do a one-to-one with them on Instagram. And we've looked into all their insights, and I've done about 50, and every single one, the most popular time when their audience is online is at 6 o'clock in the evening. So a lot of people I speak to, they go, oh, I get up in the morning at 6 a.m. and I do an Instagram post and I've done it for the day. But like, who's up at 6 o'clock? Not anymore.
I do that. I got to lie, because I'm a bit like, I'll do it, then it's done, which I should do it and then schedule it. Right.
So scheduling is definitely the way forward, and it gives you time to be reactive. I mean, I am constantly having to tweak things. I've hopefully got a big giveaway. I don't know why I do these things to myself. a big giveaway that I'm arranging with 150 small businesses.
Okay.
And I've now
gone mental, hasn't it? I keep seeing it on social.
Yeah, so I've got to create all the stuff for that and then schedule it all and everything. So obviously we do have to move things around now. And when I sometimes look at our feed, I'm like, do you know what, that picture we've shared that thing too many times. We ought to change it. And also I do schedule a few things onto stories, not too much, because I don't want to. It's like a bit of an ad break in the story. So I don't want to do it too much because I don't want to put people off. But there was an app that we scheduled, I think Sophie scheduled 3 months worth of stories for me. So there were two or three posts, 2 or 3 stories a day, all throughout the summer holidays, you know, when we're actually medical. And then Instagram stopped the API. So we lost everything. So then I had to find an alternative. And the alternative that we use is called Sked Social, SKED. It's a bit difficult to set up. They're actually really helpful. They're quite a new company, I think. But what's good is you can schedule stories, and if you have over 10,000 followers, you can actually link a swipe up as well.
Brilliant.
Which there are very few platforms where you can schedule stories that go up automatically without you having to get your phone and go, auto publish. And if you have 10,000 followers, they do a swipe up as well. So they're pretty good.
That's brilliant. So Fran, you're completely on it. In terms of when you started, or what advice would you give? How much would you spend, on advertising, on marketing in that way? Obviously, you said Facebook's a big thing for you guys.
Oh, but in the beginning, nothing. We
all organically.
Oh yeah, everything was organic. We did, like we said, the giveaways.
Yeah.
Although I'm really thinking that we probably won't do giveaways on Instagram anymore, because there's been a lot of accounts that have been fake accounts that have been created, and then Instagram's closed down the original account. So I'm probably not going to do them anymore. But giveaways on Facebook were great, although they're still quite strict about the rules, so you have to be quite careful about that. It was just all organic in the beginning. Use MailChimp for the newsletter. Again, I'd get a teenager to help you with that. It's got much better since I started using it. And I decided about 18 months ago, right, I'm going to do a newsletter every week. And I've done a newsletter.
Do one every week. And how, because that sounds quite overwhelming in terms of time, but are you getting quicker? Because obviously your template's there, it's just the content, isn't it?
Yeah, the template is there. I normally do a paragraph about what I've been up to. I do a paragraph about, and I started doing that after the British Library. I thought, I'm going to tell people who we are. So I did a paragraph about what I've been doing personally, a paragraph about what we've been doing with work. Then there's always a link to a product, and then there's normally a link to a blog post. So there is quite a lot of content creation, about you know, writing blog posts, and I think blogs we haven't been great at doing. I am getting better. So yeah, it does take a lot of time. I do often get to a Saturday, because I send them out on a Sunday night. Sunday night is the best night to send out a newsletter. I know you'll know that, but
yeah, it's mental, isn't it, when you look at the stats actually?
Yeah, because people are for shopping as well. If you're on Instagram and you see these influencers doing their stories on a Sunday night, they'll always do a fashion edit on a Sunday night with a swipe up and affiliate links, because that's when people want to shop because they're a bit down about going to work.
Yeah, they've got time, haven't they? Yeah.
So it does take a lot of time, and I do often get to a Saturday and go, oh, I haven't done the newsletter. But I feel more in a rhythm. With it. And it's just being in a routine, making yourself do it, and managing your time. I really think this is really, really important. I'm still not very good at it, but if you can, so instead of just looking at emails and deleting emails and replying to emails, you never actually just doing that. You're never actually getting anywhere. I actually don't look at my emails probably till about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which probably drives my business partner mad. I try and write a list of the tasks I need to do that day, and then tick them off. And then it's a lot easier to go through your emails later on. But it's just managing your time, having blocks of time. Yeah. And obviously you still have to, if you make candles, you still have to make the candles. Yeah. I do appreciate my job now is I do all our legal stuff, but I do some logistics stuff too, but my time is mostly marketing. And I appreciate that when you're setting out, it might not be what you enjoy, and you might want to just spend all your time making, but there's no point spending all your time making if no one is going to ever see what you do.
Absolutely. You've got to just, and like you said, if it's really not your bag, delegate, find that teenager, you know, just get the help that you need it, because you have to be seen. Otherwise there's no point whatsoever, is there?
Yeah,
definitely. So gosh, it sounds like you're doing so much, which you obviously are. How are you looking forward? Do you check in with your results and analytics a lot? Do you check in with your newsletters and make sure they're getting the engagement that you want to justify doing them every week? You know, how often do you do that, and what would you recommend?
I need to do our analytics a bit more, but as I mentioned before we came on air, when we did I'm plugging the British Library again, but when we did the program at the British Library, we decided that we wanted to grow our business. The last 2 years it had been going down and down and down, mainly because 2017 was awesome for us. I don't know how we could ever have grown on that. It just went absolutely through the roof. And then 2 years after that, we dropped. So we realized that if we wanted to fall in love with our business, we needed to get it to grow a bit. So we took on a growth marketeer who has been brilliant. We knew from the British Library that there were things we could put in place, like making changes on our website, making the user journey better. We knew that if we did that, we could get a certain amount of growth. Well, we were confident we could get 30% growth, Emma and I. I'll just tell you the figures, why not? And then we took on this guy just before COVID, and he's a consultant, you know, he's not cheap, but we took him on, and he's brilliant because we do now have a Google sheet thing that's got a weekly progress. It's got sales, discounting, it's year on year, week on week. It's got everything in it, and he is completely all over that, which, you know, so we know what our average order value is for a week. We know if we've got a discount code. So he's really, really, really on top of that. I never really have to
do what's working to what. You can see exactly where the growth is coming from. Okay.
Yeah, and with the newsletter, I was just sending out these new newsletters willy-nilly, and then he would look at them and he'd go, "Oh, your newsletters are really quite long, aren't they?" And I'd be like, And then you'd realize that right at the very end, you've lost people.
Right. So he looked at them from an objective eye.
So I've made them shorter. And the other thing is that in MailChimp, I wasn't doing this, but you can click on the report and you can then click on the links, and you can see something called a link map, which I hadn't seen before. Yeah, so you can actually see a percentage of who's clicking on what. Yeah. And then you realize further down that people aren't reading. Or there was one when I had put something like, you know, I told you I was going to cut off my hair. for charity. I did.
Yeah.
I cut off 11 inches.
Picture, mental.
11 inches. So what we did was I put in the beginning of the newsletter, this week, I've cut off 11 inches of my hair, scroll down. And then I put some stuff about work, as in buy a product. And then below was my hair. But, but from the click map, the thing that was most watched was my hair being cut off. Yeah. So people do want to hear about you in your newsletter, and that's a great way of saying, this is me, I am who I am. And I would never have dreamed of sharing that I got my hair cut off.
No, it just wouldn't be on the radar for a business.
Never. So yeah, just goes to show, doesn't it? People are interested.
Yeah, massively. And is it as confident? Does it come with confidence though, with like years as the business has gone on?
Yeah, I still do have the imposter syndrome, and I do think, God, do I know what I'm doing? Is it all going to come tumbling down? And that is another reason why we got this guy to help us, this consultant, because I really felt that because so much of our revenue wasn't just about me prancing around on Instagram stories. It really was about data and numbers on our Facebook ads. And I thought, this is just too overwhelming and too consuming. And if things don't go well, like they did in the last 2 years, it's all on my shoulders. And I just I felt so responsible about that. I was constantly apologizing to Emma, and she's like, you don't have anything to apologize for. But it's such a massive chunk of our revenue that I feel a lot more relaxed now. I've got him on board to help manage
an eye on that, and he would like wave any red flags that are coming rather than it just creeping up on you. We've got to wrap up in 10 minutes, annoyingly, but I wanted to talk to you because we mentioned in the intro about luck and about sometimes being in the right place at the right time, and you've had bits of experience like that, haven't you? But obviously not without the hard work that goes in the background. Can you share any stories with us?
Well, I mean, I've got lots. You want to talk about the pizza cutter, don't you?
Yeah.
So in the beginning, it was very, very early lockdown, and there was so much busyness online. Everybody was online. Everyone was doing Instagram stories. Everyone was fighting for people's attention online, and we hadn't had any sales for about 2 weeks, and things were really dire. And Emma had said, if we carry on like this, if we don't get any orders for, we've got any orders a day, we've got 3 months. We knew we had to wait. We had to get to 3 months, which was April, May, June, which was kind of really tight for back to school. We thought we'd had 3 months. So we had a couple of things. One was a newsletter where I just emailed them, all the customers. I think we've got about 20,000 people on our newsletter list. I actually scrapped it because of GDPR and started again. And I emailed them all and I said, this is the first day ever that we haven't had any sales in a day. And but we have got these homeschooling stamps. So mum says, well done. So that was a really good one. We had loads and loads of orders off the back of that. So that was one thing that I did. The other thing was we created, and this was my consultant's idea, was to have a Facebook advertising campaign when the schools announce their primary admission places. So you apply, I think November, you find out in March or April. And we'd never done a campaign at that time because April's a dead time of year for us. And that worked really well because people were desperate for their kids to go back to school. Everyone was talking about it.
Yeah.
And then Emma messaged me and said, Fran, what's happened? We've sold out of all these pizza cutters. We have a load of random, I was going to swear then, we have a load of random stuff, not so much anymore. We've got random stuff on our website. We were trying to kind of diversify, and we're not anymore. We're going to just bring it right back down. But we had these pizza cutter bicycles, and Emma's like, Fran, we've sold so many of these today. What's going on? I was like, I don't know. And I thought either Mrs. Hinch must have found them or Stacey Solomon. I couldn't think of anybody else that would drive that many sales. We don't make them, we buy them, but we sell them on our website, and they are part of our Google shopping campaign. So when you type in bicycle pizza cutters, when you type in Google and then you click shopping, basically all of those people that you see at the top have all paid for a Google ad. so I found out that this morning had James Martin had been making a pizza in his pizza oven at home, and he'd showed them the pizza cutter, and Holly and Phil loved this pizza cutter, and he loved this pizza cutter. And I was like, that's where it's from. So I wrote it in a blog post. I scheduled some tweets. And this kind of goes back to have everything scheduled, and then you have time to react to things like that. Yeah. So I scheduled some tweets, and I put stuff on Instagram, and I've recorded him on the TV. I tweeted him. I tweeted this morning. I wanted to tell him that he had helped our small business. Did he tweet? Did he retweet or anything? But anyway, he could have done. But we ended up selling loads more of those pizza cutters. And actually what we did was we sold out, but we took off the sold out sign of the website. We ordered, I think, 200 more. And we just had to make sure that we got them in so that we could ship them straight out. But the people, this big, huge company that we buy them from, they'd furloughed all their staff. So it was like the CEO was going, all right, I've got to go into the warehouse to find these, and I don't know how to do the shipment and everything. So we're like, get them to us. So actually it was a really nice story, which people really, really got behind. My mum even bought pizza cutters from me. I'm like, Mum, you don't have to buy from me.
But it captured people's imagination.
That's
wonderful. I think the timing of it was amazing, wasn't it? Because it was that, how can we support these wonderful businesses? That's what I can do. I can value it. So,
and I think it's like under a tenner, and it's like a spontaneous buy, and people who like cycling, it's their, it's a fun,
it's just something fun.
It's a fun stocking gift. But in reality, because I must share that in reality, in the long term, that actually probably cost us money. And the reason being was because, and it's a good lesson to learn, that pizza cutter was in our Google shopping campaign. So we were paying quite high for the conversion for Google ads. So what we did after that was we focused right back in on our Google shopping campaign, and we just I think have the advertising for our name stamps and our school uniform stuff. We took everything out because we make such small margins on the products that we sell that we sell.
Yeah,
it was a nice story.
Sorry, but but you wouldn't have maybe looked so closely at your Google shop without that, would you? So it all happens for a reason. So we've got a few minutes left. So what's happening for Stamptastic in the future? What's on the plans? Obviously we're in the midst of lockdown 2 at the moment.
So we're focusing on the Christmas shop. I mentioned that briefly to you earlier, that we never normally have a Christmas shop because we're just shattered after the summer, really are.
Right then, what I will tell you is they are doing a wonderful Christmas shop. Please do check it out on Stamptastic and have a look at their wonderful website. Honestly, it's such a success story, this business, and they have done so well. But as you can tell from what Fran was saying, it's not without any hard work. So a huge thank you, Fran, for joining us. She's frozen in her house, so we will wrap it up there. But Fran, thank you so much for a wonderful chat, as always. So enlightening, so inspirational. And, if you want a little lesson on Instagram, please do go and check Stamptastic out. So thank you so much for joining me. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to these wonderful small businesses today. So have a lovely rest of day, and we will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.